Tabungan yang 100% dilakukan secara online. Download aplikasi SMA Plus. Registrasi dan verifikasi data diri secara lengkap. Terus tinggal selfie deh. Banyak keuntungan menariknya loh. Lebih mudah, lebih pintar dengan SMA Plus. Download sekarang. Bank Sinar Mas, biasakan sekarang, luar biasa nanti.
Viton C1000 Total Care. Kini dengan buffer vitamin C 1000 mg, vitamin D3 dan zinc bantu jaga daya tahan tubuh. Sekarang ada Viton C1000 Less Sugar dengan kalori lebih rendah. Boost immune, stay fit, stay active. Viton C1000 Total Care.
Ayo kita liburan. Berangkat.
Plus, siap menggantikan cairan tubuh yang hilang dengan 7 ion lengkap mudah diserap dari Wings Food.
Aku cinta mie sedap ayam bakar Limau Baru. Sedapnya next level.
Virus kuman bakteri cepat menyebar. Baru, Wis 24 Disinfektan dengan Actigar bunuh kuman bakteri jamur. Wis 24 Disinfecting Spray and Clean. Wis 24 Disinfektan Spray Surface and Air. Baru, Wis 24.
LJ Logistik memiliki 7 layanan dan coverage area LJ Logistik di seluruh Indonesia. LJ Logistik, we are faster and better.
Namun kau hanya diam tersenyum kepadaku.
Dipersembahkan oleh Asuransi Jasa Indonesia.
Alfamart belanja puas harga pas.
Bimbel spesialis matematika fisika kimia, Sinotif tempatnya.
Tabungan yang 100% dilakukan secara online. Download aplikasi SMA Plus. Registrasi dan verifikasi data diri secara lengkap. Terus tinggal selfie deh. Banyak keuntungan menariknya loh. Lebih mudah, lebih pintar dengan SMA Plus. Download sekarang. Bank Sinar Mas, biasakan sekarang, luar biasa nanti.
Hemaviton C1000 Total Care. Kini dengan buffer vitamin C 1000 mg, vitamin D3 dan zinc bantu jaga daya tahan tubuh. Sekarang ada Hemaviton C1000 Less Sugar dengan kalori lebih rendah. Boost immune, stay fit, stay active. Hemaviton C1000 Total Care.
Ayo kita liburan. Berangkat.
Plus, siap menggantikan cairan tubuh yang hilang dengan 7 ion lengkap mudah diserap dari Wings Food.
Aku cinta mie sedap ayam bakar limau baru. Sedapnya next level.
Virus kuman bakteri cepat menyebar. Baru, WIS 24 Disinfektan dengan Actigar bunuh kuman bakteri jamur. WIS 24 Disinfecting Spray and Clean. WIS 24 Disinfectant Spray Surface and Air. Baru, WIS 24.
Aljal Logistik memiliki 7 layanan dan coverage area logistik di seluruh Indonesia. Aljal Logistik, we are faster and better.
Namun kau hanya diam tersenyum kepadaku.
Dipersembahkan oleh Asuransi Jasa Indonesia.
Alfamart belanja puas harga pas.
Bimbel spesialis matematika fisika kimia, Sinotif tempatnya.
Kami memperkenalkan Toyota Finance. Love, make it yours.
Kamu bisa buka tabungan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Canisius College CUP English Debate Grand Finale. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank all of the participants and everyone, and congratulate everyone who has made it through the meat grinder of SESA Cup and finally reached this finale. But of course, before we can continue on and see the motion launch and the roll call, I would like to first thank our sponsor, who's without their generous help and offer, this competition would only be ideas, and could never bear fruit. So I would like to give a shout out and thank our sponsors.
Oke, first PT Sayap Mas Utama, Sinar Mas, Jasindo, Howden, PT Eurocars Motor Indonesia, PT Tempo Scan Pacific TBK, Binus Universitas, RS Premier, PT Lestari Jaya Raya, PT Adi Sarana Armada Tbk, PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk, PT Sumber Alvaria Trijaya Tbk, Milan Ceramic, PT Surya Tata Alam Raya, PT Supra Primatama Nusantara atau Bisnet, UOB, Trophy Fish, PT Beton Pracetak Karton, Cutie Sense, Hotdog Boy, Indosement, PT SBA, Scientist Education, Sinotif, PT TOS Omega Selaras, PT Santini Luangsa Lestari, TAF, PT Multisarana Medica, Sheraton Belitung Resort, BCA, dan PT PGAS Solution.
So, once more, I would like to thank all of our sponsors who helped made this competition run as smoothly as it had. So, without further ado, let us directly go to the roll call. So, the first team, SMAK Penabur, are you here?
Present and complete.
Canisius College A, are you here?
Present and complete.
Okay, with all the participants being complete and here in the Zoom, I give the floor to the CA, please.
Okay, thank you, Macario. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the grand final of Kece Cup 2021. Congratulations for making it to the grand final. So for the draw, as usual, we're going to use the coin flip. SMAK 3, because you guys break higher. Do you want to choose heads or tails?
We'll choose heads.
Okay. Wait a moment. I'm going to share screen so you guys can see. Okay, heads ya tadi, SMAK 3. Right? Hello?
It's visible.
Okay. Okay, so if you get heads, then then SMAK 3 will be the government. Okay, since this is heads, so SMAK 3 will be the government and Cece would be opposition, yeah? Okay, we will release the draw in 20 seconds, so kindly wait. All right, so this will be the grand final draw with SMAK 3 Penabur Jakarta as the government and Canisius College A as the opposition. Thank you, Logan. I'm going to directly launch the motion. Okay, wait a moment. Okay, can you see my screen?
We can, visible.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the grand final round. So as you guys heard from my playlist before, we're going to talk about something that is trending right now, and I'm sure everyone is excited. We're going to talk about slave to capitalism. Yay! Okay, so there will be one context slide for this motion. Kindly take notes or screenshot and ask away if there's something that you don't understand. Okay, so we're going to talk about Squid Game. Player 456 or 456 or Song Gi-hun is unemployed. His life is miserable and he is deeply indebted and has been violently threatened by the debt collectors. And his mother is really ill but cannot get operation as it requires huge amount of money. He then is offered to play the Squid Game, a contest in which 456 players drawn from different walks of life, but each deeply in debt, play a series of children's games for the chance to win a 45.6 billion prize with a death penalty if they lose. After 6 games, 455 people died, including his best friends, and he is the only one surviving with the promised money. Is there any questions in relation to the wording of the contact slide? I'll count down from 3, 2, 1. Okay, I assume the contact slide is clear. The motion for the grand final round reads, with the benefit of hindsight, as player 456, this house would not join the Squid Game. Is there any question on the wording of the motion? I'll count down from 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay, since there is no question on the wording of the motions, I wish everyone a good luck, and I hope everyone have a great debate. See you in 30 minutes.
Okay, everyone, as it has been 30 minutes, that means time is up, and now we'll start the debate. So, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I am Macario, and I will be your chairperson in this debate. The motion of today's debate is, with the benefit of hindsight, as player 456, this house would not join the Squid Game. Today, we have Team SMAK Penabur. Okay, everyone, and team as it has been 30 minutes. Sir, Alex as the Deputy Prime Minister, Cleone as the Government Whip, and Alex as the Government Reply. In Team Opposition, we have Figo as the Leader of Opposition, Ramsey as the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Marco as Opposition Whip, and Figu as the Opposition Reply. Before we start the debate, please state your POI preference before starting your speech. To open the case, I invite Cecil as the Prime Minister. The floor is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. My POI preference is by muting, and my gender pronoun is he, him. Then I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, I would like to start my speech by telling you what is this narrative about. Right? Now, the narrative is about a Squid Game, a game of life and death, a game where life and death is determined by a children's game. In each round, there are rounds in there. And 400 plus people or players fighting for a certain for a big number of money, 45.6 billion to be specific. Now, later, in the end, player 456 or us in this motion is going to be the one that wins this big of a money. We, as the player 456, with hindsight, or with us capable of seeing the future, knowing that we are going to win, knowing that we're going to get this 45.6 billion. Now, what is the problem with this narrative, right? Why should we support this narrative, right? The problem with the motion is that the player 456 have seen the future, seeing him win. The choice is in his hands with the desperation for money and the fact that he wouldn't win, because we know that player 456 is unemployed. He is the fourth, and he has a daughter, right? Now, so with all the burden, the choice is in his hands. So would he join the Squid Game and witness the death of people, or would he step back from this proposition and continue his life of death and suffering? And our sense, the government team thinks that he should not join the Squid Game. Reasons stated in my arguments. Now we have to identify the urgency within the motion. Right? Now, in this game, there are people dying. We're talking about cost of lives here. And even though these people are desperate, not everyone in a life of death is terrible. For example, they might just have a family death before they were even born. I would like us to keep in mind that not everyone in this game, the players, are all bad. Our goal is to justify that player 456 not joining the Squid Game would still result him in surviving in his life of death and desperation, rather than watching 400 plus players die for the sake of him winning. So now, who are our vulnerable actors? Our vulnerable actors are the players within the Squid Game, including player 456. The fact that they are in the Squid Game already proves that they are suffering from financial problems. They are in huge debt. Even player 456 has a big of a debt to the point of an organ transfer contract. And we know that to our actors' best interest is to win the money in the Squid Game. They want to win the money. They want to pay off their debt. Most of all, they want to live. This is more than just interest. They are desperate not to die, and that means they have to win to live. I'll go into my arguments now. First, layer of argument is about the damage of player 456 psychological state. Now, why is this so important? Because when we're talking about a life and death game, there are killing, shooting, dying, falling, all these are mine in a children's game. there is dangerous anxiety in the air. There is this dangerous, you're interested. Are you going to live or are you going to die? The fact that player 456 is going to know the death of people later on coming to become his friends, the fact that he has created a bond with them and have to watch them die is harmful. Why? Because just imagine you losing someone in this game. We're talking about this game about life and death. You've gone through much together. You've gone through blood, sweat, and tears together. Literally, you have gone through blood, but they have to die for your sake, for you to pay off their debt. They themselves have their own debt. Does that mean comparing you and their debt? Does that mean that player 456 debt or problems, life issues is greater than others? No, it doesn't work. You cannot compare your suffering with other people, because even with desperation, player 456 is still human. He's still humane. He would be damaged by how this game goes. To see his friends die, everything, it would trouble his psychology, right? Now to the second layer of my argument entitled make consent. If the opposition side goes to say that that these players have consented to this game, they have accepted to play this game, this altered their consent. First of all, we have to be aware of how they were put in the position in the first place. They're going to meet a shady guy that offers them a simple children game and give them hope to pay their debt. This is not good, because why? Because they are at their most vulnerable. These people know that they are vulnerable enough to want to consent to a shady proposition, to a shady contract. This is harmful. Why? Because they are not in their rational state of mind. They are just focused of not being harmed by debt collectors, right? In their mind, the debt is their biggest obstacle, their biggest fear. It might even be their death. But emphasize the might. But the fact that they were put into a game that will even ensure your death, something that you were going to avoid in the real world, this changes their interest. The fact that the people are fighting to win, to live beforehand, and then the money is just something of a bonus. Or then vice versa, just prove that Squid Game is a bigger threat for them rather than their death. But even if they are playing this for money, even if there are some people, some players that play this for the money, for the thrill, the fact that you accept to let the death of other people for your own benefit is harmful to them and you. Because that just proves that their life costs nothing to yours. Everyone there has their own backstory, right? Has their own suffering, their own demons to face, and you cannot compare to them your demons to theirs. And how would the world look on our side? On our side, even with the players dying, and even with player 456 not coming into a game that has that lowers the chance of him even saving others, even if his intention was to save others, the fact that he has to witness again his players, his friends dying, and just for him to win, to be with his daughter, to be with his mother with a lot of money, in sacrifice of other people's lives. And they're even in their own life, they have their own family, they have their own daughter, they have their own mother. Player 456 is not a demon. He is still human. He wouldn't want to harm others for his own benefit, right? Even though he's a gambler, it doesn't mean that he is not human. Therefore, with that, I am very proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil. Now, I would like to remind of the participants, if you have no internet problem or anything of the sort, please turn on your camera when you're about to give your speech. Thank you. Now, I invite Figo as the leader of the opposition. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Wait, what's my speech in 3, 2, 1. Right. Good afternoon, judges and also the government team. First, I'd like to actually give a little bit of a challenge to the context side. Actually, a bit more information to the context slide. First of all, regarding the Squid Game. Now, the Squid Game here is that it's said in the context side that the Squid Game, 455 people died in the scenario in which Gihon has already lived in. But sorry, player 456. And I'll name him in both Gihon and 456. You see, in that scenario, 455 people died. But you see, this show that explicitly says, I've watched the show before, by the way. So the show explicitly says that it's not only one winner. You see, the problem here in the show is that it just requires for people to just, when people die, the prize money gets increased. But you see, the problem here is that it's increased by 100 million won, and 100 million won is a lot of money. And C, not all the people here need to die except for one to actually gonna benefit from it. Right, I will say that. Okay. The second part is that the Squid Games actually have 3 clauses. The first clause is that it's a given that all players must play the game, and if they reject, it's in the second clause, they will be eliminated, i.e. killed. And the third one is that if there's a majority vote, the games will stop. Of course, I will also reclarify again if the government hasn't spoken on this yet, but hindsight is of course the knowledge of him knowing what the Squid Games will be, him knowing what the events will happen in the future, and him knowing that he will win. Now, I just want to say this. We are, both of us, government and opposition, we both operate as player 4, 5, 6. I started with this with one of the rebuttals to their points. First rebuttal is that there are people dying. The facts of death is horrible. I don't remember why they mentioned that, but I remember that saying that because it would, in fact, player 4, 5, 6's psyche, but I will mention later on why that doesn't really matter as for player 4, 5, 6. Of course, Hero set this in modern Korea in the world of Squid Game. First of all, right now, we are as a person, player 4, 5, 6, a person who is ridden in debt. He's being violently threatened because of that debt. He has a dying mother, and do not mention the context side. He also is fighting for custody against his ex-wife, of which he needs money. The custody of his daughter, in which he needs them a lot of money to win. Right. First of all, I would like this characterization. You see, without hindsight in the series, player 4, 5, 6 actually continues on with the games when the third clause of the games are actually enacted, where he came back to his life and he realized just how bad his life was compared to actually having a chance at winning the Squid Games. And remember, at this point in the series, Gi-hun did not know that he would win the Squid Games, yet he decided to go even more. Him knowing that he will win later, he would understand and he would actually want to even more join the competition and just do things as this, with a few minor tweaks, as I would mention in my mechanisms. Of course, the characterization is that player 4, 5, 6, it actually counters the rebuttal on the psychological argument of the government team, is that player 4, 5, 6 only really started regretting his decisions in the Squid Game when his best friends died. Before that, he didn't really care if anyone died besides that. Even the punks that died, even the people who threatened them, he wouldn't care. He didn't actually give it the single care about them. He only started caring when his best friends died. As such, you see, this leads into the mechanism as how this will work. First, benefit your hindsight. You know how everything is going to happen. You know how there are going to be free games where it's a 50-50 on people surviving and losing, and other games where there is no reason for people to lose. You see, first, the reason, the mechanism here is for Gi-hun to rally his friends, or at least just tell the people there how the Squid Games will eventually work. Because of course, the people who are watching the Squid Game only monitor the specifics, like, oh yeah, what are they going to do? But basically, in that free time that you have, tell them what they do, or at least tell enough people of what is going to happen to ensure that in the 50-50, your friends are going to survive the Squid Games, and with you, as player 4, 5, 6, the prize money, along with your friends, receiving also the prize money. In case I mentioned, free games are the marble game in which you have to go against someone else, and you have to lose, and you have to win, take all their marbles to win the game. The second one is a tug of war game where you have to literally play tug of war, and the one who loses gets eliminated. The third one is, of course, the Squid Game itself, where you play as teams. Now here, I'll like to put in the status quo now. You see, the background of Korean culture, in which this debate is already set in, is a culture which is a culture of shame, in which those like player 4, 5, 6 does not have sufficient resources and support systems, both in the social aspects and also economic aspects. Remembering this lack of job and bad business, the pressure of both society and economics added to the problematic lives, remembering that his mother's life is literally in danger, means that it is a desperate measure. This Squid Game is a desperate measure because basically, we're in the situation which you are either pressured by the traumatic experience and also other experience, or this happened on the other side of the house due to the societal and familiar pressures from Korean culture, economic pressure and a familiar pressure to keep his mother alive, remembering the fact that his life is in shambles because of the debt, and he's about to get threatened violently by the loan sharks finding him and asking, where is my money? Now, of course, this is very urgent to player 4, 5, 6 again, because his life is being threatened. He wants to get custody over his daughter, and his mother is about to die. He needs this money. And also, you need to understand that homeless people in Korean culture is looked down upon. They are looked down upon. And even after the 2 years, where Gian does not spend a single bit of his money, he becomes homeless. He becomes homeless, in which case in Korean culture, he is being looked down upon. He is guilt. He has trauma too from that. It's not only psychological trauma from the claimed psychological trauma from winning the Squid Game. It's also psychological trauma that might happen if he ever does not get the money and he gets ridden in debt. It just shows that. Right. of course, we have a best case, worst case scenario. The best case scenario here is a player 456 and his friends actually succeed in winning via player 456 giving a few decoys, holding a bit of information so that he would win the free 50-50 games with his friends and receiving cash money prize, albeit smaller than 45.5 billion because of the people dying decreases and amount of people winning increases. It's still enough money for him to change his life because it's just enough money to change his life. And the worst case scenario here is a player 456 that's traumatized, but as shown as in the show, he gets over it, which means that his mental state does recover and he's fine from that. And also on the fact that his mental state wouldn't actually suffer that much as shown in the show, because for example, in the best case, he saves his friends, he lightens the burden on his mental state. Right. And now I'd like to go into our end goal here. Of course, it'll pay loan sharks and get our life together. Right. Now with the arguments. Player 456 has the insight of the results and events of the competition itself, as has been stated by my setup before. Of course, was also scoring a large cash prize of at least 700 million won if everyone inside the competition listens to him and does everything correctly. Even more so, he will get more money if he manages to persuade his friends, the only people he really care about in the game. As I have mentioned in my mechanisms, it means that Gihon will walk away with money and with less mental burden. And as we mentioned multiple times, he needs this money. He is in shambles. He needs this money to operate his life. Later on, he will be screwed by trauma as well through debt, and not only through psychological. And we believe that this is why, as player 456, we should enter the Squid Games. I end my speech as the first speaker.
Thank you, Figo. Now, to expand the case, I invite Alex as the Deputy Prime Minister. The floor is yours.
Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Okay, hold on, let me set up my timer. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, before I go into my arguments, a few rebuttals to the opposition side of the team, right? First of all, I would like to point out that opposition is only playing how it's a very ideal scenario about how everybody will definitely listen to like Gihun, right? However, we think that this is not true because of the nature of the Squid Game itself, that is life and death, where when you are pressured to like play in a life and death situation without the benefit of hindsight that Gihun has, you would like doubt everyone and you would not be in your right mind in the first place, right? So we think that the likelihood of this mechanism of everyone actually being good boys, good girls, and listening to Gihun is like really small, right? But second, panels, opposition needs to prove to us how then these greedy people would not betray player 456 who is going to save these lives of people when they already characterize that the moment another person dies, it is more beneficial for these people who are alive, right? We think that this is still not guaranteed that everybody can live a happy ending without like any mental dramas or whatever, right? We think that opposition is already digging their own grave when they say that Gihun already has enough trauma from like the society of Korea itself, right? However, we think that it is not necessary for us to add more trauma onto that for the cost of money. We think that this is not justified, and I will explain that in my arguments again later. We think that panels, we think that in the opposition side of the team, they keep comparing like how he has like his dying mother, he wants to win custody of the daughter, so on and so forth, without realizing that other players want these as well, right? And Gihun would know this. Gihun would know that these other players would have like the same burdens as him, because he would know that everybody in the Squid Game is also suffering from like death, so on and so forth, right? And why this is bad, again, in my arguments later. However, I've already proven and given a burden to the opposition side of the team, how then they are only playing on the very ideal case scenario and even the worst case scenario of like, oh yes, having a mental trauma and getting over it without like any lasting scars, right? We think that this is unjustified. Now, first of all, I would like to go to my first argument, which is the psychological warfare, right? First, I would like to characterize what Squid Game is, right? It's kind of game that messes with your psychology and forces you to put others down to be your stepping stone, right? I think that no one with a right mind would want to earn that much money with the cost of others, others' blood being paid, right? The interest of Gihun, first we have to characterize the interest of Gihun, right? Like we said, he got the money he lost due to gambling. However, like the series depicts Gihun as someone who is like dedicated to make his family happy. Knowing this and the want for him to stay alive, to be able to see his daughter and family, and the want to even other players to stay alive and to be able to pay their debt for their family or for themselves is already like really, with the benefit on hindsight, they would not join, right? Knowing this, we won't feel like he would join the Squid Game anyway. Now, on my arguments, the first is the psychological warfare that it gets, right? Panels, we think that it's unjustified to trade money for 455 other lives, right? That big amount of money. We think that every single player in the game would want to stay alive and pay off their debts. The reason why they'd want to join this shady game
anyway is because their deaths without the benefit of hindsight either way, right? In a game that you are the sole survivor in a death game is traumatizing and very inhumane, right? More than 400 people has to die in order for himself to be happy, and all 455 people who has the same hardships as he's going through to make things worse, right? Three reasons why we think that it would be best for him to not join, and why it is not likely for him to join with the benefit of hindsight anyway, even if he knows he's the winner, right? First of all, the likelihood of someone who's desperate to stay alive and voluntarily joining a killing game is already not likely. We characterize this when we why it's really unlikely, especially to Gihun, who really benefits wanting to see his family again, wanting to see his mother alive, and wanting to see his daughter in America, right? But second, even if he knew he'd win, we think that any sane human wouldn't want to sacrifice 455 lives for like that sum of money, right? At the end of the day, we think that money cannot buy lives, even when you're not the person directly killing or betraying these people. We think that the opposition argument falls simply because they think that it is okay to sacrifice at least like even one life of people for like all these people to get like at least a bit amount of money and like go out untraumatized, right? We think that the moment they are trading people's lives for money and doing it voluntarily with the benefit of hindsight, they've already lost because the humanity does not exist on their side of the house, right? We think that money cannot buy lives, even when you're not the person directly killing or betraying these other participants, right? Each human death adds another step to you to reach that huge amount of money, right? We think that the nature of a killing game is each person dying is more beneficial to you at the end of the day. No, that you realize this is a killing game, you've already come to terms with the fact that every death benefits you and you already abandoned your humanity, right? Even if these other players did not know like about this hindsight, and even if Gihun himself did not have this hindsight, upon knowing that he already entered a killing game and he is like his mental state already came to term that it's okay that these other people die as long as like the people like my best friend and I don't die. It's okay for these other people to die for A. It's okay for these other people to die for me to be happy, right? We think that this is very, very harmful in like a side that where we are valuing humanity and valuing psychological worth, right? We think that when opposition says that he is going to get out of the killing game and healing and so on and so forth, and he's going to heal, gonna be better, it still does not erase the fact that he's already mentally scarred and he's already come to terms that he killed a bunch of people, and that is okay because he earned the money and he earned the happiness that like he thinks he deserves. Though we think that everybody else in the every other player, the other 455 player also deserves, right? We think that we notice that in the moment you've already come to the terms that every death benefits you, you already abandoned your humanity. We think that this is unjustified. Even if you win by like blind luck and not like directly killing or betraying, we think that this is still unjustified because you are sacrificing your humanity for like the happiness you think you deserve, because this is like the nature of humans of being greedy, right? We don't want this to happen in our side of the house. But third, the fact that he could see even the aftermath of the game where he loses all his close friends and even comes home to his diseased mother, we think that no one would want to go through that, right? To lose people you care about, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day if these other players still join the Squid Game, if these other players, your friends in the Squid Game, we think that this is okay anyway. Why? Because we never knew these people prior to the games anyway, right? We would not have built the tight bond forged through life and death. Panels, ignorance is bliss. The fact that he could spare himself from the feeling of grief of young people older or younger than him who still have lives ahead of him, especially when he knows then how each and every one of them would die. We think that no one would voluntarily subject themselves to this mental torture, right? Especially knowing that the deaths of your comrade would just pushes you to win more and more money, like that it feels like the human life is so expendable for like a huge sum of money that at the end of the day is just a materialistic thing, and each person has like their own lives and their loved ones, so on and so forth, right? We think that the moment that they say that okay, it is okay for like Gihun as like this privileged person with the benefit of hindsight cuddle up all his friends and like we can win together, and like the rest of them would die and he wouldn't care, right? We think that this is very inhumane and this is an exclusivity that they don't have on their side of the house, right? And then why then humanity matters on our side of the house? Because we think that again, in a place where you're already so traumatized, you do not want to traumatize yourself even more, right? You do not want to, like, especially since you're doing this for your family, the mother who raised you, the daughter who's supposed to look up to you, we think that you do not want to like set a bad example for them, right? To pay their lives with the money that is stained with blood, right? We think that again, when he comes home to like his mother who's deceased, his friends who are also all deceased, the mechanism is that he will himself. He would want to find a stable and formal job to be able to cater to his dying mother instead of like be in this killing game where he cannot even interact with his mother, right? That is why I'm proud to propose. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Now I invite Ramsey, as the deputy leader of opposition. The floor is yours.
Hello, am I audible and clear?
Loud and clear.
Okay, hold on for a second. Okay, so I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, just rebuttals for your entire case. You're saying as if like humanity matters on your side, but the thing is like humanity also won't matter on your side because first of all, we need to consider what is the likelihood of Seong Gi-hun or player 456 in getting an actual job and stopping all these trauma from happening. The thing is, we also, other than that, we also need to consider the fact that even without him knowing, even without him joining, more people will still die anyway. So he is literally in no position to even go against these Squid Games in the first place. Now, I would like to talk more on how likely it is for him to even get a formal job in the first place. First of all, as stated by my first speaker, the work culture in Korea is essentially you need to work for anything you get. And because of that, it's very dangerous, especially for poor people who are looked down upon because they're not even able to put in effort and they're not able to work because they don't have the necessary resources to even get a stable job. And because of that, homeless people are not treated, in the end, are not treated well. And even if they are, they need to work hard for even the most basic needs. And because of that, the effort that they put is very unproportionate to what they receive in the end. Now, another thing we need to consider about the rich people in the world of Squid Game. First of all, in the world of Squid Game, we can already tell that the rich people here are already bad. First example would be Ali. He gets mistreated by the company he works in because he wasn't paid for 6 months straight. And basically, these rich people are just using his hard labor work just to make profit off of him and trying to cut down profits. And because of that, he doesn't get paid. And what does that mean? His life is in shambles. And this also goes the same for Seong Gi-hun. When he and his coworkers went on strike, the company just straight up denies it and tries to get rid of the strike as soon as possible, causing one of his friends killed. And because of this, it's completely unlikely for someone's life in such shambles such as his to even get a formal and stable job anymore. Now, I'd like to move on how desperate he is. As stated earlier by my first speaker, that loan sharks are after his life, and not only that, he's also trying to fight for custody. And not only that, his only supporting system at that current moment was his mom, and she is going to die as well. And because of all these three things that he is going to lose, he will essentially have nothing in the end. Legitimately nothing, not even a life anymore. He won't be able to live anymore because he'll be killed by the loan sharks. Now, I'd like to move on with a few of my rebuttals. One thing that you failed to mention is that, first of all, because of how unlikely, you mentioned that more trauma will happen on our side because he has to experience the trauma through hindsight and also experience it again. But the thing is, as stated by my first speaker, he can use the hindsight to his advantage. Why? Because with the hindsight, he's still able to at least convince people he knows and convince people who know him, or at least he can prove to them that he knows what the games will be and how to succeed. And as stated, it's because information is very key in this game. You need to know how to win. You need to know how to win. Yes.
How can you ensure that these people would actually, how he can prove to them how that he would know what the Squid Game is like, and how people would believe him and not think he's an insider anyway?
Because people are desperate. People are desperate to gain that money. Because people are desperate, they're willing to take any chance they get to even follow someone or at least make up a team. That's what they did in the game. Now imagine you have someone in your team who is really OP because he knows everything in that game, and to make sure that they live, they get the money, and they can bring it back to their family. More people will listen to him, and not only that, more people are more likely to follow him and even help him along the way. This ensures that even that he will be able to change whatever hindsight he got earlier and use it to his benefit. Now, I would like to talk more on how Seong Gi-hun is actually characterized. Sure, you say he's humane, he doesn't want to kill, but even in the game, even in the show itself, it is shown that even with him knowing people are going to die, after the majority have voted out, he tries to opt back in again because he realizes how much he is going to lose, which is everything. He will have nothing in the end. And because of this, he at least wants a fighting chance to even get back. And mind you, again, stated by my first speaker, he didn't even know that he was going to win. He just wanted to at least try and win so that he's able to provide for his family. Sam, now, with that in mind, we need to realize that because of that, there is no other alternative than joining the Squid Game for providing a happy life for his parents, for his mom, and basically paying off all his bills. And first of all, even in the show, even when you stated that you can't compare sufferings, the thing is, even then, he also cares for others, and that is shown, especially when he tried to kill his best friend because of how he tried to kill others. Even then, it is clear that he is still human. And not to mention, even he only tries to help. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that he only tries to help if he can. The thing is, right now, he is not in the state to be able to help others. But because with this hindsight, it is more likely for him to help others, and it is more likely for other people to help him. And not only that, we also need to consider the fact that with his position in power, even in the show itself shows that even with him being in the position of power, being able to gain all that money, he is able to help others. He is different than the other rich people. He tries to stop the Squid Game, or at least that is what is implied show itself. Now, I would like to move on with another thing. The thing is, we also need to consider that he is sad and desensitized. The fact that he's already had his humanity taken away from him because nobody was able to care for him and nobody was able to be his support system other than his mom, which is not even enough. He loses everyone he cares and he's broke and so on. And so what does a person do when he has nothing to lose? Nothing to lose, broke and also sad. He goes crime, kill, and desensitized. So even if he doesn't join the Squid Game, he is forced to gain money, and even in ways that are inhumane. Now, Squid Game is a bigger threat than their original lives. It is already completely rebutted by the show itself, showing they choose to stay. Everyone would doubt Gi-hun in his way of listening to Gi-hun, why they would all listen to him. At the very least, Gi-hun could save his best friends, especially people who trust him and he trusts as well. You have failed to address how Gi-hun never cared about any other death besides his friends. Therefore, his mental impact will be much more minimized. And not to mention, you haven't even stated on how he's able to get a job in the first place. Now, plus he can prove his predictions by saying them before it starts and saying how it will happen. And people don't believe that first, he will try again, and people will start realizing because people are desperate. Exclusive benefits on our side, we win, and he has the money to help others, and he has more friends on his side. Harms on your side, you have no money and you have no real way to climb up the social ladder and gain the support he needs. That is all for my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramsey. To summarize the case, I invite Cleone as the government whip. The floor is yours.
Okay, give me time to set my own timer. Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so my POI preferences are is just open your mic. But if I do reject your POI, I'm really sorry, but please do not try again because it might disturb my speech. My gender pronouns are she, her, and I think that is all. And I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panels, the debate has been quite interesting, although it is quite one-sided. And if we were to compare between the government and the opposition about who can guarantee that Gi-hun would be better than the other side of the house, we clearly win this debate, which I am going to explain why. I am going to bring up 3 main parts in my speech. First, the rebels. Second, I will engage with their case and the problems on their side. Third, the clashes and why their clash. And third, the clashes and why the clash is the clash favors in our side. So now let us start with the rebels. I prepared 2 rebels that I'd like to bring in my speech. 1, the opposition side has mentioned about how in the end of the game, Gi-hun will recover from all of the trauma and the fact that he would still have the money and recover from the trauma. First of all, we strongly believe that this is not true because opposition side could not prove. Why are they so sure that he can recover from the mental trauma? We still believe that he wouldn't recover from that traumatizing experience easily. Even if he gets a lot of money, he would still regret his decisions because he lost his closest friend and he even lost his mother at the end of the game. Yes, he did pay his friends debt in the end of the game, but still he did it. But still he did it because he was devastated of his friends dying, and he believed that it may be the only way for him to be able to pay for his friends' sacrifices for him. That the fact that the opposition side thinks that recovering and forgetting is so easy is already problematic, and we still believe that it is just unjustified for him to trade the money for 400 plus players' life. Even if this is true, we still believe that the trauma will still be with him either way. And even if he may not be as sad as he was when he won the game, he would still have some regrets inside him. He would think, I could have saved them. What would happen if they were still alive with me right now? What would happen if I didn't leave and my mother still be alive now? It's the worst. It is worse on the opposition side of the house because they still cannot guarantee the recovery of Yoon, because as long as he lives, the event would be still traumatizing for him, and he would still have regret. Would have regrets till the very end. Second, the opposition side has mentioned about how on our side, Yoon would still have trauma and have the chance of dying on our side. First of all, we believe that this is not true. If your option is to subject yourself to mental trauma or dying, it is human nature to create their own path to better yourself. So we believe that it's not true. And even if it's true that Yoon will die either way, if you fail and if you die, then at least you will die knowing that you didn't have to sacrifice 455 people and your mother for your own happiness with the price tag, right? So this is why we believe that it is worse on their side. So, and that is all for the rebels. Now I'm going to carry on with my second main part of my speech, which is engaging with their case. So the opposition side has mentioned about how player 456 is suffering so bad that and how he desperately needs the money. But what opposition side is doing is just comparing every people's suffering. We think that this is very problematic because you cannot just compare people's suffering because everyone has their own problems and reasons why these other people want to join the game. The opposition side keeps engaging with their best case scenario and about how people will follow and listen to him and try to escape the game together. But again, the opponent side still could not convince us why couldn't convince us enough why people would still listen to him, even if they tell the other people that he has in the future and he has proof and whatever it is and how the game goes. Because the people that join the Squid Game are desperate for money, desperate to change their lives. And of course, when it's a game of life and death, it will be full of betrayals. Everyone knows that, right? How can you convince this? It will be full of betrayals because people will do anything they can to get the money. How can you convince these people that you're not betraying them and not making yourself look like a delusional person who has seen the future in front of the people's eyes? The opposition side also seems to forget that his mom would die at the end of the game. Would you really go for the money even though your friends die and your mother dies in the end? Because again, even if you still can save your friends, the mother will still die at the end of the game anyway. His mother died because Gihun left. His mother was left uncared and ill. So this is why we believe that. This is why we believe that opposition side is just problematic because the trauma that they left for Gihun. We already pointed out that the opposition side worst case scenario and why their worst case is worse than ours because in the end, which I will explain later, opposition side still did not engage fully and gave responses that was needed. And now that is all. And now for the third part, the clash. So in this clash, I'm going to talk about we are going to talk about joining the game and versus not joining the game. The clash is going to be comparing just how will the main protagonist Gihun will end up at the end. The end as in when he joins and wins the game at the opposition side, and when he doesn't join the game on our side of the house. So on our side of the house, we believe that Gihun would still be a better person and be in a better situation than the opposition side could. The opposition side because he would have benefited the hindsight. With the hindsight, he could see how the game will work, how he make friends, how his friends will die or sacrifice themselves for him, and he definitely can see the fact that he will come home to his mother laying on the floor. The fact that he can see all of these things clearly is already traumatizing. When you see a traumatizing future right in front of you, would you still go to that future, or would you try to avoid it as best as you can? Even if on our side Gihun still has trauma and etc., on your side it is worse because he will have to go to that future. He would have more trauma. He would be traumatized by seeing the future with his hindsight and the fact that he has to go through that future again to do whatever his goal is. So this is why we believe that this will be more traumatizing. Also, opposition side didn't prove us how it is justified to trade his humanity and other people's life, the other participants' life, for money, and especially his mother's life for money. The tipping point in this debate is how we can guarantee that Gihun will have less trauma in both of the house, which we believe that we we are better than their side of the house, because like I already explained, we were able to prove that the world, especially Gihun will be better on our side, especially in cases like this. Our opponents had insufficient responses and their arguments could not withstand our responses, which we already proved, and why it won't work on their side. And this is why their arguments fall. Therefore, we have justified the trade-offs and weigh the clash in our favor. And panels, that is all. That is all for the debate and for my speech. And and this is why we still strongly believe that we are the better team. We are so proud to oppose.
Thank you, Cleone. Now, I invite Marco as the opposition whip. The floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marco, and I'm going to be the opposition whip. Let me set myself up. Okay. Oh yeah, my bad. If team proposition would like to POI, simply unmute your mic and speak up. And if I say decline and it sounds like be quiet, I was saying decline. Please don't take that because of the last debate. Now, on to my speech. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems that the proposition team has failed to convince us that not joining the Squid Game is actually a great idea. 2 points that they must answer. First, they must answer the question they must answer the Gov side has to answer the question of how are they going to live in poverty after the death of his mother and having nothing which can support him. And the second question is Gov side also has to answer the question of how it will be better on their side of the house, remembering all the mental trauma which is given from society of being a person who is poor. We have explained to you time and time again in our status quo, in our arguments, in everything, that he is stuck in poverty, he's stuck in being poor, and society hates him for it. On to my rebuttals. Ladies and gentlemen, the second speaker of the House fails, actually. Government side absolutely, third speaker and second speaker absolutely fails to bring up the benefits for him on their side of the House. Because the fact is that on their side of the house, we have proven to you that he still experienced death trauma. He still experienced the fact that he cannot get out of this poor and poverty easily. Second rebuttal is that player 456 still does not recover from his mental treatment. We believe that he will. In accordance to the show, and because of the support system granted to him by the resources that he wins from it. And ladies and gentlemen, the third rebuttal is that they claim that it is human nature to make a better route for them. But we have time and time proven to you again how the society, how the cultural expectations of the modern day Korea pushes him down into a state of poverty in which he cannot fight back, he cannot bring up. And so they never explain how he could just make a road in which he could just rise up magically. There's absolutely no explanation on that. And third, on my third rebuttal, how will you convince your friends? Ladies and gentlemen, we must explain that when in a situation as desperate as this is, they will follow anything. And again, remember, if you see someone who somehow can just live through the game, he knows everything to do, and you're extremely desperate, it is your simple instinct that you will follow the man who knows what to do, who at least seems to know what to do. And my final rebuttal is about dehumanization. Ladies and gentlemen, their side of the house claims that dehumanization is not justified on our side of the house, even though it actually happens on their side of the house, and often worse, remembering that there is no support structure and that society hates him. And which has been explained by my second speaker, would lead to things such as crime, would lead to things such as lasting poverty, and so on. I must point out, before everything else, I shall do my clashes. My only clash and first known clash is that which side of both sides of the house believes in the player 456 having traumatization. Ladies and gentlemen, on their side of the house, psychological state will be worse. It's just that in your side of the house is the player 456 will lose money and more family members, and they don't have the support structure. We also see from the status quo that player 456 will also experience mental pain and mental illnesses. You said yourself that your player is human. However, However, he is dropped in an inhumane world who is also hated by everyone, hated by society, and while the only person that he cares about, i.e. his mother, his daughter, is taken away from him. As said by my second speaker, it leads to very, very bad conditions. And the third point of rebuttal on their side of the house is the fact that the world in which player 456 lives in a world which is inhuman to him. For all he knows, he only cared about his mother, his child, and their side of the house. And in their side of the house, you do not have the resources to help with the support structure. And even worse, the only people you cared about in this world literally disappears. Now you have nothing. You have absolutely nothing that can support you, and you are going to die alone. Traumatized, sad, hating everything. Remember, not only you are poor, you are treated inhumanely, treated like trash, and knowing that no one in this world looks at him with sympathy. We believe that this is the worst outcome. Compare this to our side of the house of the clash. We believe that traumatization with money and a support structure. With our side of the house, deaths can be minimized, as seen by my first speaker's argument. Also on our side of the house, with our you get the resources, you get the support structure in which player 456 first can save others and redeem himself as declined, as spoken by my third speaker. Also, by my second speaker, my bad. Also, he can also save himself from himself by use of support structures. And the third is that society accepts him as a respectable person with a fine amount of wealth. And third point of our side, the house, is that I believe that the fact is here that player 456 has his humanity already taken away from him, remembering his current situation. The fact is that we argue that his life will become the killing game if he does not follow the Squid Game. The Squid Game becomes the real life as he goes into a spree of death, a spree of crime, remembering in their side of the house, he does not have anyone to counteract. He does not have anyone to help with his support structure. So, ladies and gentlemen, to put this into perspective, in our side of the house, we have a win-win scenario because we at least get the human and economic support in which he is freed from his initial circumstances, and also that his family, society accepts him as someone who picked himself up. On the other side of the house, it is actually a lose-lose scenario because society not only shuns him down, deleting any source, deleting any path in which he can progress and go back up. All of his support systems from his mother and his daughter are both stripped. Anyone who cares about him. And as said by my second speaker, when someone has nothing to live for and someone has nothing to lose for in their lives, bad things happen. Now, let's put a worst case scenario. In the worst case scenario, in our side of the house, actually, he has trauma, but he can still pay everyone. He can still pay for it. And plus, he can still pay for the support structure such as mental help, and at least he's treated by society humanely. Even on their best case scenario, on their side of the house, he would still have trauma, which we have proven as worse than us. He doesn't have a way out due to the cultural implications of society, due to the cultural implications of everyone, and he also loses anyone who cares about him. The fact is that they never rebutted how player 456 will go into a life of crime, a life of, say, murder even, and a life of hatred towards society and those who tossed him to the side. Right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of a psychopath. At the end, would you rather cry about yourself in a Ferrari or would you rather cry yourself under a bridge? I think that's the end of the question. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Now, to close the case, I invite Figo as the opposition reply. The floor is yours.
Right. Good afternoon, judges, and also the government. Of course, I'd like to end this debate by actually starting with a quote from the opposition, from the government team. Let's start a bit. Right. The quote is, the debate is quite one-sided. Yes, for us. I'd like to mention a few reasons as to why. First of all, I'd like to say a damning point as to how government has failed to mention an actual benefit as to why Gi-hun should not join the Squid Games. Meanwhile, our side of the house, the opposition side, has already told multiple times that Gi-hun, it is impossible for Gi-hun to recover emotionally due to emotional death, to the debt trauma, and it's also impossible for him to recover economically and financially because he has no money to do so, because he is going to be literally owned by loan sharks. It is impossible for him to get up. And it seems that our government is forgetting that fact. Opposition has also rebutted the facts of the government saying, oh, he sacrificed his humanity by saying two things. One, as Gi-hun is shown in the show that he does not care about anyone else besides himself, his family, his daughter, and his best friends. And that is the characterization that they have given. We're even playing along with them. We're even playing along with government, and they still lose in this situation because we have already succeeded in the end goal of Gi-hun paying his debts and getting over his trauma, because it even shows in the show that he does get over the trauma, something that the opposition government overlooked in their first speaker speech. They have failed to say to us as to also why actually Gi-hun could benefit more from this. Okay, no, I'll say this. The first argument we have given is that player 456, with the hindsight, could save his friends too. And we have already also given a way for him to save his friends because he could just predict accurately and his friends would believe, because they are also desperate in the money as well. And it's also shown in the show itself that he is able to persuade his close friends inside the show, alleviating his mental burden that government has been saying this whole time, along with the humanity problem. And also, as a second one, he is in need of money, and we have mentioned multiple times he needs the money. Where is the outcome? Where is the benefit that government is bringing up here? There's no government for Gi-hun, because remember, in this debate, we are Gi-hun, and as it's been said in the series, he does not care about other people. He only cares about himself, his family, his daughter, his friends. Really. And when you say that his final act of atonement of paying his friends' debts back by their families, it just proves again that he only cares for his friends. What about all the other people? He doesn't care for them. It's not shown in the show at all. And it is also again said in the show that he even after all this, his mental state is still strong enough for him to want to challenge the Squid Games after. Right. In this case, we have already brought so many points as to why Gi-hun, at the house, as Gi-hun would want to continue on with the Squid Games, because we can save our friends. Because remember this, in the Squid Games, where even if Gi-hun does not participate, there are still people dying. At least he can save them, as has been said, by the mechanisms of making them believe that he knows what will happen later by predicting what will happen in the competitions later and proving to them like, oh yeah, all the predictions are correct. And by doing that, it basically just eliminates maybe not all the harm, but at least the worst thing that could happen here on our side. Meanwhile, in government, Gi-hun is still stranded as a poor person in a society where poor people and homeless people are viewed very lowly inside that world. It is shown in the show that he himself is already suffering a lot between those 2 years in which he couldn't recover from that emotional trauma, because he was also suffering from that trauma and from the society of Korea not accepting people who are homeless, not accepting people who are poor. As such, Gi-hun himself is not happy in government side at all. And when in opposition, his trauma is less. He gets a lot of money, he pulls his life together, and he could get custody over his daughter, which he genuinely cares about, as has been shown in the show. And his friends are still alive, being saved from the looming threat that is the Squid Game that could have threatened their whole existence if Gi-hun didn't come to help them. Which is why we, as the opposition, win this debate vehemently, because government has failed to prove at all why Gi-hun should not join the Squid Games, and we have proved as to why he should. Thank you.
Thank you, Figo. Now, to end this debate, I invite Alex as a government reply. The floor is yours.
Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I'll start my speech in. Hold on, timer. Okay, sorry. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Knock, knock. How's the opposition doing up there in Utopia? First of all, I would like to give you a summarization of this debate and why we deserve the win, right? So first of all, we would like to throw some burdens back to the opposition of the side of the team, right? First of all, they did not prove to us why it's justified to sacrifice even one life for your happiness, even if you are suffering with the status quo of Korea, when all of these players are basically suffering from the same thing, right? Why it is so privileged to you for yourself to win this when it is clear that everybody else else is suffering almost the same, or not, if not worse than yours, right? Maybe these people are even younger than you and they have more future ahead of you. And why it is justified for you to sacrifice these people anyway, even if Gihun does not matter, even if Gihun does not like feel like it is okay, even if Gihun does not care about them, right? Even if we're playing as Gihun, we think that it is still not justifiable for him to actually sacrifice even one person for like the money that he would get, right? And second, they did not prove to us how then Gihun would why then Gihun or anybody else would subject themselves to more mental trauma, even if you can hire the most expensive psychologist, right? When there is an option to not go through the same trauma anyway, why would you go through pain just to hire like the best doctor when you have an option not to go there, right? Because we think that, again, we have a trade-off that we have already said, right? We think that it is we think that when faced with a life or death situation where you can either enter a killing game or you can either die, it is within human nature to actually try at the very least their best to try to improve their life, to try to work a formal job, even if it's near impossible in Korea, right? And we said that this trade-off is this is okay. Why? Because then at least he would die knowing that he did not sacrifice a single life for like his happiness, right? Because we did not hear any we did not hear any rebuttals from the first to the last speaker of the opposition side. Why then it is very justifiable to sacrifice even one life for money, right? But second, they have no exclusive arguments that we haven't rebutted yet. We already told you then the trade-offs that we have. We already played in our worst case scenario when they're still playing on their best case scenario, when we have already said that ignorance is bliss. There is no guarantee for you to actually be able to save everybody in like this very ideal scenario that everybody would definitely listen to you and you don't just sound like a lunatic who can like see the future, right? Even if they can. We think that they said that, oh yeah, they are desperate, so they will take any chance that they can get. However, we think that this is not true, right? We already characterized to you. They are desperate to stay alive, right? They are desperate to go back to their family to pay off their debt, because that is the first reason they join anyway, right? To be able to stay alive and not like be chased by loan sharks to like sacrifice their organs, so on and so forth, right? So we think that they would be extra careful in like a nature of the killing game, as they wouldn't like trust any lunatics, so on and so forth, right? Especially since if he knows the future, he would seem like an insider who are actually like people who are moderating the game, right? It's so suspicious, and we don't see how then this is likely for people to actually believe Gihun with the benefit of hindsight if he enters the killing game, right? But third, we already have mentioned again why then it cannot happen, why then it is still unjustified for them to actually sacrifice people for money, right? We already mentioned to them again and again how then Gihun would still retain his humanity as someone, as a father, as a son who is like actually who is depicted as someone who is like very caring to his family, right? We think that this is unjustified again because then the daughter would look up to someone who has sacrificed money to like see her, right? So we think that again this is very bad, especially in a situation where you are supposed to be someone who is like looked up to, right? We think that it is better for him not to meet his daughter at all, as opposed to like actually meeting the daughter through money paid by blood, right? We already mentioned this and why it is harmful. We already gave you the benefits, right? He stays human, right? He stays with his humanity intact and like stays as someone who does not have any lives weight on him, does not have survivor's guilt in the very first place, as opposed to having like actually hiring this like people, right? We think that it is not justified for him to sacrifice these type of people because they said again and again about how Korea is like in a really bad mental state, about how he is shamed in Korea. However, we don't see why this does not apply to the other participants, why it does not apply to like these other people, and why it is justified to kill these other people, right? So that is why still proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. And I would like to also thank everybody that has participated in this debate. I believe that everyone did well and that it was an extremely fierce and tough debate. No matter who wins this competition, it is without a doubt that both teams have tremendous talent in debating and critical thinking. Now, I would like to once again thank our generous sponsors who helped make this competition from a collection of ideas into a reality. So, I would now like to give a shout out and thank our sponsors.
Oke, yang pertama ada BINUS Universitas. Kemudian yang kedua ada PT Sinarmas TBK. Kini bukan tabukan, nggak perlu ke bank. Prosesnya mudah banget loh, 100% online lewat aplikasi Simobi Plus. Dengan buka tabungan bank Sinarmas secara online, kamu bisa mendapatkan e-voucher, Alfamart, senilai Rp 50.000. Selain nabung secara digital, kamu bisa beli pulsa, top up e-wallet, bayar jajanan pakai QRIS, dan beli e-voucher dengan harga diskon dan banyak brand toko dan resto favorit kamu. Dengan terus menggunakan SIMOBI Plus, kamu juga bisa menikmati gratis transfer antar bank dan promo undian harian berhadiah, e-voucher belanja hingga Rp 1 juta, dan program Lucky Dip Hip Hip Hore. Banyak banget keuntungannya kan? Tunggu apa lagi? Download SIMOBI Plus sekarang dengan scan barcode yang ada di sini ya, atau kunjungi bit.ly SIMOBI Plus. Nikmati kemudahan atur keuanganmu lebih mudah dan lebih pintar dengan SIMOBI Plus. Kemudian PT Eurocars Motor Indonesia. Bisa dilihat di sosmednya yaitu @Mazda ID. Kemudian PT Tempo Scan Pacific dengan produk Hemaviton C1000. Kemudian PT Howden, bisa lihat di sosial medianya, Twitternya @Howden Indonesia, dan Instagramnya @howden.id. Facebook page Howden Insurance Brokers Indonesia, dan linknya Howden Insurance Brokers Indonesia juga. Kemudian Jasindo, lalu PT Sayap Mas Utama. Siapa yang sudah kangen ketemu teman-teman pada saat Canisius Cup? Pasti kangen kan tanding langsung? Kangen nonton pertandingannya secara langsung kan? Biarpun kita sudah mulai PTM, sayang banget kita tetap sekolah online. Nah, bagi teman-teman yang ada di sekolah, kita mau ingetin lagi nih untuk tetap jaga protokol kesehatan ya, supaya nantinya CC bisa kita lakukan secara offline. Jangan lupa pakai hand sanitizer atau cuci tangan, pakai masker, jaga jarak, dan tentunya pakai disinfektan ya teman-teman. Nah, aku mau kenalin nih disinfektan yang bagus banget, namanya WIS 24. WIS 24 ini sudah terbukti secara klinis mampu membunuh 99,9% virus, bakteri, dan jamur termasuk SARS-CoV dan human coronavirus. Dan dengan teknologi Actigar, WIS 24 aktif membunuh virus dan bakteri di permukaan selama 24 jam. Tinggal semprot, lalu lap meja dan kursi teman-teman terlindungi selama 24 jam. Kita jadi terlindungi sepanjang hari. Giveaway idenya, tunjukin seberapa kangen dan pengennya kamu ketemu teman-teman dengan nonton Canisius Cup bareng, tapi tetap hashtag terlindungi sepanjang hari dengan WIS 24 via Instagram story kalian, dan tag teman-teman yang kamu kangenin, dan juga Instagram WIS 24 di @WIS24 disinfektan dan Instagram CC. 10 orang terbaik hari itu akan memenangkan 1 paket perlindungan WIS 24. Kemudian untuk mie sedap, udah seharian kita seru-seruan nonton pertandingan kan, udah mulai lapar belum nih teman-teman? Saya sih udah mulai lapar nih ya. Pengennya yang sedap-sedap juara biar berasa juga jadi juara. Apa ya siang-siang gini sambil nonton gini enaknya yang simple apa ya? Dan karena kita juga masih mau semangatin teman-teman yang tanding, biarpun dari rumah, kita butuh sesuatu yang bikin semangat, yang bikin jerit. Makan mie sedap cup ayam jerit aja deh. Duh, udah gak sabar pengen makan. Rasa kuah ayam pedes, mie yang kenyal ditambah sama rawit bikin segar. Benar-benar juara mie pakai rawit. Cara buatnya mudah. Nikmat, sedapnya makin juara. Setelah makan mie sedap cup ayam jerit, kita pasti jadi makin semangat nyemangatin teman-teman kita untuk menjadi juara. Kemudian pada PT Lestari Jaya Raya di Instagram, Facebook, YouTube @LGR Logistik. Bisa dicek juga di websitenya lgrlogistik.com. Kemudian PT Adi Sarana Armada Tbk. Kemudian PT Sumber Alvaria Trijaya Tbk. PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk. PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk adalah one-stop solution for beverage need. Selain menyediakan bahan baku minuman seperti sirup, kopi, teh, bahan baku boba, premix powder, Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa juga merupakan beverage consultant yang membantu customer dalam recipe making, cost analysis, and product knowledge. Jadi, untuk yang mau buka kafe atau restoran atau warung, Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa punya produk yang pasti sesuai dengan kebutuhan atau konsep customer. Tersedia berbagai produk Kurnia Mitra seperti Monin, sirup, Lavazza Coffee, Milk Lab, Boba King, Easy Powder, Santino Coffee. Bisa dicek di IG-nya @KMDS Flavors. Kemudian RS Premier Bintaro. Yuk, follow dan subscribe media sosial RS Premier Bintaro. Follow Instagram @RS Premier Bintaro, subscribe YouTube channel RS Premier Bintaro, dan like Facebook page RS Premier Bintaro. Biar kamu bisa mendapatkan banyak informasi baru tentang kesehatan kamu, orang tua kamu, ataupun orang-orang yang kamu kasihi, dan update tentang kegiatan-kegiatan seru RS Premier Bintaro. Jangan lupa ya guys.
Okay, once again, I would like to thank all of our generous sponsors who has managed to help this event from the beginning till the end. Now, as we wait for the adjudicators to make their decision, everyone can turn off their cam and just wait in the Zoom. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone who has patiently waited for the announcement. Now, I would like to present to you the decision that the adjudicators gave me. Okay, give me a sec. Let me share screen first. Can you guys see it? Okay, everyone can see my screen, right? Okay, then let me just continue directly onto it. Oh yeah, first, I forgot. Before I do this, let's do a small roll call. Is SMAK 3 Penabur here? Are they present, all of them?
Present and complete.
And is Canisius College A present?
We are here, but one of them is still outside. Hold up, let me get up for it. Hold up.
Okay. Tell me if everyone's present, yeah? And then we can continue on with the announcement.
Okay, he's back now. All right, you can go now.
Okay, everyone. To conclude English debate for Canisius College A 2021, I will now announce the results in the presentation. The first is the danger prevention side. Now, the winner is okay, for real though. Okay, everyone. Okay, that wasn't obviously the results. So, were you excited? Did you get any anticipation building up? Well, that's good. Because if you want to know the result of Canisius College CUP English Debate Finals third place, as well as the best speakers, you can watch it in our closing this Saturday. So yeah, if you want to know the real result of this competition, go ahead and watch our closing this Saturday. Okay, now, with the announcement being done, I would like to first say thank you to everyone, not only the finalists, but all of the participants of this year Canisius College debate competition. Obviously, without all of you, this competition would never even be able to hold place. Secondly, I would like to thank all the adjudicators who had been extremely cooperative from the beginning up till the end of this debate. And I would like to give a special thanks to the CA, adalah, who I think helped so much with me and the running of this competition, and whom without this competition wouldn't have run as smoothly as it had. And continuing on behalf of the Committee of English Debate, I would like to say sorry if we did any mistakes, if there were miscommunications, or if there were any problems that was on our part. And I would like also to say sorry if we had offended any of you, be it through our actions, our words, or anything else. If those things did happen, we hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive us. Now, once more, I would like to also thank our generous sponsors who without them, this competition would never bear fruit or be successful as it is. So, I would like to give a shout out and thank you and give thanks to our sponsors.
PT Sayap Mas Utama, Sinar Mas, Jasindo, Howden, PT Eurocars Motor Indonesia, PT Temposcan Pacific Tbk, Binus University, RS Premier, PT Lestari Jaya Raya, PT Adi Sarana Armada Tbk, PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk, PT Sumber Alvaria Trijaya Tbk, Milan Ceramic, PT Surya Tata Alam Raya, PT Supra Prima Tama Nusantara atau Bisnet, UOB, Trophy Fish, PT Beton Pracetak Karton, Kitisans, Hotdog Boy, Indosement, PT SBA, Scientist Education, Sinotif, PT TOS Omega Selaras, PT Santini Luansa Lestari TAF, PT Multisarana Medika, Sheraton Belitung Resort, BCA, dan PT PGAS Solution.
Once again, we would like to thank all of our sponsors who help us achieve this competition. Now, just once more, I would like to remind you to go ahead and watch SESE Cup's closing this Saturday, which not only includes the announcement of who won this competition, as well as other various fun activities, like an all-star match for Valorant and Mobile Legends, as well as a guest star will be appearing in the closing. So, without further ado, I have to say goodbye to all of you. And this concludes SESE Cup English Debate 2021. Once again, thank you. And I would like to say once more, sorry if we did anything wrong. And yes, see you next year.
Tabungan yang 100% dilakukan secara online. Download aplikasi SMA Plus. Registrasi dan verifikasi data diri secara lengkap. Terus tinggal selfie deh. Banyak keuntungan menariknya loh. Lebih mudah, lebih pintar dengan SMA Plus. Download sekarang. Bank Sinar Mas, biasakan sekarang, luar biasa nanti.
Vitamin C 1000 Total Care. Kini dengan buffer vitamin C 1000 mg, vitamin D3 dan zinc bantu jaga daya tahan tubuh. Sekarang ada Hemaviton C 1000 Less Sugar dengan kalori lebih rendah. Boost immune, stay fit, stay active. Hemaviton C 1000 Total Care. Plus, siap menggantikan cairan tubuh yang hilang dengan 7 ion lengkap mudah diserap dari Wingspoon.
Aku cinta mie sedap ayam bakar limau baru. Sedapnya next level.
Virus kuman bakteri cepat menyebar. Baru, WIS 24 Disinfektan dengan Actigar bunuh kuman bakteri jamur. WIS 24 Disinfecting Spray and Clean. WIS 24 Disinfektan Spray Surface and Air. Baru, WIS 24.
LJ Logistik memiliki 7 layanan dan coverage area LJ Logistik di seluruh Indonesia. LJ Logistik, we are faster and better.
Namun kau hanya diam tersenyum kepadaku.
Dipersembahkan oleh Asuransi Jasa Indonesia.
Alfamart, belanja puas harga pas.
Bimbel spesialis matematika fisika kimia, Sinotif tempatnya.
Kami memperkenalkan Toyota Finance. Make it yours.
Kamu bisa buka tabungan